your school, not being able to honor your commitment. Are you proud?
Saying that name, Tebow, made me happier than anything's ever made me on this show. That last moment when I ran into that camera, I wanted to just keep going right through the camera, all the way into Tebow heaven.
You know you're sickening, right? You know that, right? You and Tebow.
You know what?
Unbelievable.
I just know I'm right.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Let me tell you something. We'll find out how right you are because I'm going to enjoy this particular subject on Tim Tebow. I don't know if you've seen what the great Willis MaGahee said, the man that rushed for 1,199 yards.
Unfortunately, I have.
I don't know if you... Let's read this here. My goal is to do better than I did last year, MaGahee, the running back for the Denver Broncos, said. And that means I've got to get past 1,200 yards. Obviously, with Peyton Manning coming to Denver, he adds, I don't have to worry about 9 defenders in the box. There were times when Tebow could have given the ball to me, but he kept it. And there were times when he was supposed to keep it, but he gave it. When you're running the option, there can't be any hesitation. I call it running on blind faith. I'm sorry for laughing. I apologize, Skip. I just can't help it. Yet the latest piece of evidence of what I've been saying all along, but before I even get into that, Skip Bayless, your thoughts on what Willis MaGahee had to say about your boy Tim Tebow. Go ahead, man. I told you.
I don't find this funny at all.
That's why I find it hilarious.
In fact, I find it sickening. I find it disgusting.
Oh.
I find it ass a 9, ass a 10, ass a 11, ass a 12, ass a 20. Think about what you just read.
Yes, I do. Go ahead.
You just read the blasphemy coming out of the mouth of a 30-year-old running back whose career was revitalized and saved by one Tim Tebow. You just read the quotes of a Willis MaGahee who should have dropped to his knees and thank God that Tim Tebow was a Bronco for a brief while last year, because it will never get better for MaGahee than it was last year. And I am sick and tired of a lot of players in that Bronco locker room demonizing Tim Tebow now that he's gone. They're going to come and learn to miss him this year, especially Willis MaGahee. And that's if he can keep his job over the rookie that they drafted, Ronnie Hillman from San Diego State.
He's good.
Pretty good. He's pretty good. And I want to remind you, the Broncos were 1-4. Nobody cared about Willis MaGahee. And all of a sudden, Tim Tebow took over, and they became the #1 running attack in the National Football League because of the spread option. And I don't know how many times Tebow rode with MaGahee and let him take the ball and run with the ball when he really didn't deserve to, when Tebow could have gone the other direction and maybe gotten 3 or 4 more yards than MaGahee got. And in the end, MaGahee's 1,200 yards would have been 900 without Tim Tebow. And next year he thinks, oh, Peyton's going to change the world. We're going to throw it in. We'll run it. We'll see about that. We'll see, because at some point he's going to miss the spread option.
Are you finished?
The blind faith attack.
Are you finished?
Yeah. You know who's finished? Willis MaGahee.
Let me say this to you. It's not an accident that all of these players for the Denver Broncos,
not all of them, but some of them.
I'm just talking about the ones who have said what they have said that hasn't been overly complimentary, worshiping at the altar of Tim Tebow. It's not an accident that all of this happened. But I'm going to surprise you here. I think I am. I completely agree with you about Willis MaGahee. He was wrong to say that. Because with Peyton Manning there, throwing the football more, certainly the activity that he had last year will dwindle and diminish and dissipate significantly. There's no doubt about that. So you can't expect Willis MaGahee to have the same numbers. I mean, if Joseph Adai and those guys weren't able to generate those same numbers, he's not going to be able to do it himself.
Edger and James back in the day.
But that's back in the day. That's back in the day. But the point is, Willis MaGahee is good. He can play. but he does owe a lot to Tim Tebow.
Thank you.
And so he should
Is
not
there a
have.
bot coming here?
No,
Okay.
there's no but. He should not have said that. It was out of line because he did benefit tremendously from Tim Tebow. But I'm trying to tell you, however, you have to look at the fact that a running back who benefited greatly from Tim Tebow is willing to stand up and say this because it points to what I've said to you before about Tim Tebow. And that was this. Even when effective, sometimes it's at the detriment of other players. Because what happens is that, again, you said the spread option, and you think about the quote that Willis McGahee said here. Sometimes he should have gave it up when he should have he gave it up when he should have kept it. Sometimes he kept it when he should have gave it up.
Sure.
And you have to be definitive in a running game because there were plays that Willis McGahee suffered because of Tim Tebow's indecision. A lot of times because of his indecisions, because of his football IQ that you alluded to, because of his suspect performances in practice. All of those things factor into the equation. And to real football players, not saying that Tim Tebow's not because he's a football player, but to other football players, that doesn't work for them, even if the numbers belie that. Even if the numbers say that, you know what, this benefited me. Overall, as a football player, some of those things you don't like. Maybe Willis McGahee is willing to sacrifice a couple of 100 yards a season so they could throw the football more, so he could so it could be less taxing on his body, so he could be put at less of a risk, etc. And that's what you have to consider.
Okay. Bottom line to this for me is that the reason we're hearing such resentment out of the Denver locker room for Tim Tebow is because they feel he got too much credit for the success that they had last year.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. That definitely is. But I believe they're right to feel that way. I don't believe McGahee was right to express it, to say what he said. But I do think some of the resentment harbored because he stole a lot of the credit, I definitely think that's justified. There's no question about that.
I appreciate you saying that.
I told you, I'm a fair-minded man. I ain't biased like you. Skip Bayless, Stephen A. in the house. No Jay Crawford, but that's all right. We're holding it down. Coming up.